What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be covering a question that I've been getting asked a ton recently, and that is, after this Season 2 patch, whether or not the M16 is still what I would consider better than the AUG, or if the AUG has gotten better now that it has higher bullet velocity and things like that. So I'm going to go in and try to help you guys answer this question for yourselves, and you can decide which one you like more based on my descriptions in this video. And hopefully it helps you pick your class. But yeah, let's jump into it. I'll show you all the data, all the testing that I've done, and see if we can help you decide which one's better. All right, so real quick, when you build both the AUG and the M16, you're going to want to use the Strike Team barrel. It gives the biggest bullet velocity boost and gives you a better fire rate for both the weapons. So right now, no question, you want to use the Strike Team barrel on both of these guns. But the reason I mentioned that is because it affects the TTK. So the TTKs for these two guns right now, the AUG is at about 710 milliseconds, and the M16 is at about 770 milliseconds. So, it's like 60 milliseconds faster for the Cold War AUG, which it's like 9% or something. It's not a huge difference, but it's something to keep in mind, definitely. And obviously, lower is always going to be better. So it is a plus for the AUG now. All right, so if we look at the stats for the two guns, you can see the fire rate. This is the difference in TTK. They have the exact same damage profile, so they do 72 to the head, 40 chest, 40 stomach, 40 extremities, and both of them have no damage drop-off, so that's the same all the way out across the entire map of Verdansk. If you can hit somebody that far, it does the same amount of damage, which is one of the things that makes these guns so good, is they just don't have that damage drop-off. They have very, very similar stats. The bullet velocity now actually favors the AUG a little bit, so this is without the suppressor, but if you add the suppressor, the agency suppressor, now that it's been fixed, you can get up to like 1100 on the AUG and like 950 or something like that on the M16. So that's a relatively big difference, and that's another big benefit that the AUG has now over the M16. But there's some other things for the M16 we're going to talk about here in a second that I still think favor the M16, so we'll continue the comparison. All right, so the AUG now has, well, it always had the better TTK, but now it has the better TTK and it has better bullet velocity, which is very important for shots at range. But I want to talk about recoil a little bit because recoil is super, super important for mid to long range fights. So the top here on the picture on the screen, this is the M16 from about 50 meters when it's mounted. That's how tight the bursts are. So in some of these cases, the second bullet actually went in the same hole as the first bullet, so there's not an extra bullet hole or bullet mark. And you can see they're all perfectly straight vertical and relatively consistently spaced vertically. This one's a little taller. These two are a little taller, but in general, it's pretty consistently straight vertical and a consistent height, which is very important when you have to pull your mouse down or hold your thumbstick down to correct for that recoil. It's important that it's consistent each burst. And then these bottom 5 patterns are the AUG from the exact same spot mounted. And you can see that a couple things. One, it's more inconsistent vertically. So there's like this one that's really short and this one's really tall. And then also the AUG has a lot more horizontal bounce in it, horizontal instability. So that middle bullet sometimes is off to the right, sometimes off to the left. Like this one, it's off to the right. This one, it's off to the left. And then over here, it's on the left again. It's just a lot more inconsistent, which makes it a lot harder to hit your shots at range. It's not like it's hard to hit shots, but it's going to be probably harder than the M16 in terms of recoil. It does have the benefit of having that better bullet velocity, though, so that is something to consider. All right, and then this is the recoil comparison between the M16 and the AUG when they're not mounted. So on the left side, these are both meta builds, by the way. I should have mentioned that, but they're both meta builds. So agency suppressor, strike team barrel, axial arms 3x, 60 round mag, and we'll talk about the 60 round mags here in a second because there's some differences between the two in the 60 round mags, and then also the field agent foregrip. So that's what the build is for both these guns. But on the left side here, we have the M16. Right side is the AUG. And you can see the M16 is perfectly vertical every single time with this build. There's almost no horizontal bounce at all, just straight vertical. And the spacing of the 3 bullets is pretty consistent. Every now and then there's a couple that are a little lower. In general, the second shot tends to be a little bit closer to the first shot, and the third shot's higher, but pretty consistent. I mean, these look almost just perfectly consistent with a few outliers. And then if you look at the AUG, both vertically, it's the same story with the mounted AUG. So you have some horizontal instability, and you have a lot more vertical inconsistencies as well. Sometimes that middle bullet's close to the first bullet. Sometimes that middle bullet's up at the top. There's just a lot more inconsistencies with the AUG's recoil, and this is a pretty significant difference for hitting shots at range. So even though the AUG has more bullet velocity, I personally definitely still prefer the M16 at range, no question. Anything past like 75 meters, I'm gonna feel a lot more comfortable with an M16 in my hands than an AUG, even though the AUG has better bullet velocity now. All right, the last individual thing I want to talk about is ADS times. So with that meta build I just talked about, agency suppressor, strike team, axial arms, 60 round mag, and the field agent foregrip. So for the M16, you're going to want to use the STANAG 60 round mag. So let me open the game up here. So you're going to want to use the STANAG 54 round drum for the AUG. This has the best ADS times for the AUG. The Salvo 54 round fast mag on the AUG is much slower ADS times, so you don't want to use that. And then the M16 is actually the opposite. So the STANAG 60 round is much slower ADS time than the Salvo 60 round fast mag. And the difference between these two, so the AUG with this build is 415 milliseconds of ADS, and the M16 is only 358. So you get quite a bit faster ADS with the M16. You get 6 extra bullets, which is 2 bursts. Not a huge difference, but it's just we're comparing two very similar guns, so any difference is a difference. And the ADS time is actually relatively significant. So even though the AUG has 60 milliseconds faster TTK, if you both see each other at the same time, you both have the ADS, you're going to be able to put your shots on the target about 60 milliseconds faster with the M16. So if you both see each other at the same time, you ADS, your M16 is going to hit the shots first because it ADS faster. It's going to flinch the guy with the AUG, and he might actually miss shots. And obviously, this is a totally hypothetical situation. But just trying to compare two guns that are really similar, so I'm trying to bring up anything that would be an advantage for the M16 or an advantage for the AUG. But yeah, the ADS time, I think, is actually a relatively significant thing to think about. It's one of the reasons why I like the M16 so much, is because it has such fast ADS time for a gun that's so dominant at range. Alright, so a quick summary. The AUG has better TTK, has better bullet velocities now. The TTK is about 60 milliseconds faster. The bullet velocity is about 150 meters per second faster. So those are both really important things. So it's good that the AUG has those now. That it kind of balances it out with the M16 a little bit. But the M16 has 60 milliseconds faster ADS time with the builds I talked about, and it also has much more consistent and repeatable recoil. So I'm not gonna call a winner here. I'm sticking with the M16. The M16's ADS time and its accuracy at range just make it insane for me, and the fact that it's better mounted. I can basically snipe with an M16. I regularly kill people at 200 and 250 meters with the M16. It makes using a sniper rifle feel almost pointless at this point to me. It's kind of sad because I love sniping, but the M16 is just so dominantly good at range right now that it feels like more of a gamble to use a sniper and have to hit a headshot when I could just put a bunch of shots down range and kill somebody with the M16. And the AUG is in a much better place than it was before this update. Now that it has this huge bullet velocity buff, it's much better at range than it used to be because of that. And I think it brings it in line with the M16. They both have pros, they both have cons when compared to each other. So I think they're both great options right now. But like I said, I'm going to use the M16. Alright, so one last time, this is the build you want to use with the AUG. Agency suppressor, strike team barrel, axial arms. Make sure you're using the drum mag, not the fast mag. That helps with ADS times significantly on the AUG. Field agent foregrip. And then for the M16, agency suppressor, strike team barrel, axial arms. And make sure you're using the fast mag, the last mag for the M16. And then field agent foregrip. But yeah, those are the builds. Those are my thoughts on the subject. I think they're both great. I hope you guys found the video useful and helpful, trying to decide which one to use. And I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next video. Hopefully, I will have one out tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, have a good day. I'll see you guys in the next video.